Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. Now, I'm not flexing, but just want to give a quick shout out to Artia, the homie, for your excellent comp. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything. You can go ahead and check out his video. I'm going to link it at the top. Go ahead and check out how he did it. You won't regret it. You probably mouthed a little bit. Go check out his video, drop a thumbs up, drop a subscribe, share some love. But yeah, huge shout out to Artia for this amazing opportunity. Now, the only reason why I scored a little bit higher than him is
Restrictive.
Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to show you guys maybe a couple of different team comps for Andras 16. So I'm currently at Andras 16 and I think I have a 100% win rate with this comp. But I've seen some images being shared around who do not use Poison Espers. Instead, they use Tether. So if you do have a Tether who is maybe even sub R2, that is still going to work. You do not need to crit at all, and I'm not very sure how that comp works, but I didn't manage to get the permission to share the team, so for the time being, we are just going to work with Poison comps until I figure it out. Anyway, I do have a Tether as well, so I can't really showcase it anyway. Okay, so this is how we are going to do it. This is going to be the pay-to-win team, and I'll be showing you maybe a more free-to-play team after this run. And the only reason why this team is pay-to-win is because clearly we have a Hilda here, and we are also needing to use an Intisa here. Now the thing is, Intisa, you do not really need her to be at R2, but clearly she does a lot better at R2 because she's able to go back into her third skill, only because of the attack down, I feel, right? And of course putting herself into stealth. But the thing is, for the most part, the stealth is not super important because the damage that she does is not great. We are going to check it out as well. So for the most part, the reso doesn't really make a big difference for Intisa, but having her second skill maxed is actually quite important because we will be using her for the debuff extension. Alright, so let's take a look at all of our equipments first before I just blitz everything. So we have Meredith here, very typical Fafnir build with like, okay, a little bit too much speed. Now the reason why we are using her, even though there is the gangrene debuff that the boss lands, which reduces your healing by 70%, is because not only does she heal, she also provides some kind of shield. So the thing is, when healing overflows, grants shield for 2 turns. So if you do overheal your allies at the start, they will be protected with a shield. So that's kind of nice. But of course, the most important thing is she does carry the speed lead, and at the same time, she also has a speed buff on her third skill, somewhere around here. So for the most part, she is not useless, right? I mean, she also has a second skill here that grants defense up and crit resist, which is, it's okay. She's decent support. Then next we have Hilda. I've just showcased her stats earlier on today. So here we have like just a very typical Ocean Avatar build. So you kind of want to push for defense, you want to have some speed as well, and 100% accuracy. Actually, I think the accuracy is probably not important to be at 100%. I think you only need 70% for Andras. I can't be too sure about it just yet, but I think around 70 to 80% is good enough. But of course, having 100% accuracy just gives you a little bit more defense because of this part over here, right? Each 10% accuracy grants her 10% base defense. Now moving on to Kara, she will need to have the Enchanted set. I felt like this is extremely important because you need to land 3 stacks of debuffs at any one time, because whenever Andras takes a turn, I mean, we will talk about that in greater detail later on, but whenever he takes a turn, he actually loses 2 debuffs on himself, which is massive. So you will need the Enchanted set in my opinion. So just give her good speed on the Ocean set with as much accuracy as you can muster, and of course the rest goes into HP. Just want her to be tanky, that's it, right? Then next you have Intisa. I've already showcased her stats earlier on. We are running her with the Astral set. It's not super important that she has the Astral set. I think the Ocean set is also a lot better because this allows you to get your second skill up more often, which is, in my opinion, the most important skill that she has. But of course, the attack debuff that she has on her third skill is actually quite helpful as well. And finally, we have Laura, who is just a sitting duck. Now, the good thing about Laura here is that you can run her super slow. You just build her with a lot of HP, so she don't take many turns. And the reason why you don't want her to take many turns is so that you don't eat into your turn count. So this is a great way for you to limit the number of turns that you're taking, because you have one Esper who is just protecting our team without moving too much. So I also have her on the Ocean set so that she can throw her third skill out more often for more shields. So shields are quite important in this particular boss fight. So without further ado, let's blitz this 10 times and let's just take a look at our win rate. So far my win rate is, from what I can see, is 100%. But you know, things may go wrong. We may actually have like 80% or something like that. Who knows, right? So I haven't been doing this all that much aside from just a couple of blitzes. Okay, so 100%, except that we have a couple of scuffed runs, so one of them is this. So as long as you have more than 130 turns taken, your consumed memo chip is going to be 22, which is like the highest possible memo chip count. But if you want to have 8 memo chip runs, you will need to have sub 60 turn runs, which is insane. 60 turns is crazy. It's so freaking fast. It's so impossible, right? But of course, we do have one single run that I noticed which was extremely fast, which is this run over here, 90 turns. This is possibly my fastest run ever. Let's take a look at how this works. So we're gonna skip the first couple of waves and go straight into the boss fight. Now, the thing about the boss fight is whenever he takes a turn, he will actually reduce the debuff durations on every single one of his allies, including himself, by 1 turn. So when he takes a turn now, he's actually gonna take one debuff away, and then when he completes his turn, remove one more debuff, and that's why he has all of his debuffs removed the moment he took his turn. And of course, that also applies to all of his allies. So whenever his allies have like 1 turn of poisons left, what's going to happen is when the boss takes a turn, that's actually going to just wipe off all the poison stacks that the enemies have, right? So for example, this enemy over here, all 1 single stack of poison, right? The moment the boss takes a turn, what's going to happen is all of these are just going to go away. Take a look at this, right? The boss is going to move and there, okay, yeah. Okay, so a bunch of it were removed, right? Because those were the 1-turn poison debuffs and the rest here are all the 2-turn poison debuffs. Anyway, so it's very important that we have debuff extenders, which is why I have Intisa here. And that is also why Hilda is so important in this comp. Hilda is necessary for debuff extension on her second skill over here. Look at that. Boom. Hey, wait, no, hold on. That was it's a second skill that can extend poison debuffs, which is something that we need to bank on. And we are also using Intisa for the same reason. So yeah, there you go. Delirium extends all the poison debuffs that the boss has. So very important stuff that you have enchanted on Kara. I kind of prefer to have Avatara on Hilda just because whenever she counter attacks, she would then, you see, lengthen the debuffs on the boss because her normal attack itself also lengthens debuffs. So I kind of want to throw that a little bit more often, but I think running the Ocean Stat is also pretty good on her so that she can use her second skill more often, which I think is better in some cases because you get to lengthen the debuffs on all the enemies as well. But yeah, so this is the comp. Pretty damn good, I think. So it's kind of safe. Like I said, about 100% win rate. Let's take a look at the damage spread, right? Okay, so Hilda is obviously dealing the bulk of the DPS, and I am not super sure why this is the case. It's probably because of the number of poison stacks that she applies, and also how the game determines her to be the poison applicator, because maybe when she extends debuffs, those poison stacks become her poison stacks, right? I think that's how it works. So that's probably the reason why she has so much damage output as opposed to Kara over here. But for the most part, I do feel like Kara and Hilda, they're probably dealing about the same amount of damage. Hilda is just extending the debuffs durations. And now, like I said, Intisa is not dealing a whole ton of damage because her true damage kit is actually based on the enemy's max HP, and the boss has 5 HP bars, which means her true damage is going to be based on only one of the 5 HP bars. Aside from that, her true damage multiplier is only like 3%, so it's not a big deal, right? It's about a poison attack. And the thing is, Intisa, you don't really want her to crit in this content because that will push the boss's AP. So she's not providing a lot of damage for this team, but it's more for the debuff extensions. Alright, so this was the pay-to-win comp. Let's take a look at a more free-to-play comp. So from my understanding, Intisa is now a free-to-play as well because you can get her R0 completely free from the wish... Okay, I won't say completely free, but you can buy her from the wish pool with 100 wish stones. So she, in my mind, is R0 free-to-play. Now, the thing is, a lot of you guys are going to say that, okay, because she's R2, that's why she's performing so well. Okay, so fine, we are going to remove her. And we are going to replace Hilda as well because Hilda is clearly a pay-to-win choice here. So instead, what we are going to do is we are going to put in Jacob. Jacob is an excellent choice right here if you need more poison stacks. Let's take a look at how he works. But for the 4th slot, Falcon is actually potentially a good choice if you have debuff extensions because whenever the boss takes a turn, he's actually going to remove all the Horus Eye effects on all of his allies. But the thing is, if you're able to somehow keep his Horus Eye in place until the enemies take natural turns and just get the debuff triggered that way, then he's actually very capable of dealing quite a decent amount of damage onto the adds. Also, another interesting thing that I tested was that Ethan is actually able to use his Panic Gaze on the adds and the boss as well. So when they use their normal attack, they're actually going to take away 20% of their max HP just like that. But of course, the problem here is if the boss moves, he's going to remove one layer of the Panic Gaze, and at the same time, if the boss uses his 2nd or 3rd skill, that's going to remove away all of your Panic Gaze, so he's not very consistent. Now, I've also tested Anesidora, but unfortunately, her 3rd skill cannot be applied onto the adds, neither can it be applied onto the boss, so it's not quite the same as Panic Gaze. So I think for the 4th pick, a really good choice is going to be Ife, for the sole reason that she has attack debuff on her 2nd skill. Sorry, not her 2nd skill, on her 3rd skill here, she has decent poison stacks. Just run her the enchanted set and I think you should be fine. So for the most part, if you have her fully skilled up, I would highly recommend you to run her with the Ocean enchanted sets. But for the time being, I'm not going to be using her just because I don't have her skilled up at all, and therefore she's going to be quite unreliable for me. Now then, another Esper that is a pretty solid choice is to use Berenice for the extra shields that she provides. So a team like this is going to be extremely tanky. You're going to be able to survive most attacks. But this team is definitely going to be very slow because we do not have a lot of poison debuffers here. And at the same time, we do not have any poison debuff duration extenders. So if it really comes to that and you do not have an Intisa, nor do you have Hilda, I might recommend you to use Tricky, but the problem here is you will crit a lot, which means the boss is going to move more and therefore he's going to remove the one layer of whatever debuffs that you had, right? So it might not be so relevant to use Tricky as a debuff extender. So I think realistically, this is probably going to be like the most free-to-play comp there is right now. But yeah, let me just go ahead and build my Berenice. Okay, so I slapped on some random stats onto her, just give her as much speed as I mean, it's like honestly not much. And the rest just goes into HP. So let's take a look at how this comp works. I believe this is going to be extremely slow. So if we take a look at the consumption overview here, we are probably going to be well within the ballpark of like 22 memo chip runs, I think. So yep, rest in peace memo chips. Let's do this. Holy shit, 302 turns. I accidentally pressed blitz without selecting 10 runs, and damn, this is this is bad news, man. What the heck? Let's try this again. Okay, you know what? Let's just do it. You know what? Why not? For the YouTube. What have I done? What the hell have I done? Oh my god, thankfully we lost. Thankfully we lost. Okay, so unfortunately it is what it is. If you do not have any one of, like, let's say you don't have Ife or you do not have Hilda, it's going to be, as far as I'm aware right now, it's going to be very difficult for you to run a poison comp because Jacob and Kara alone are not good enough for poisoning the boss, because that is like your main way of killing the boss, because the boss has extra poison resistance. So the boss has pretty standard resistance against most debuffs that are not poison. So if you're trying to apply poison debuffs onto the boss, take note that his resistances are extremely high. It's kind of like Chronos, for example, or Apep, right? It's very difficult for you to poison those bosses. Same thing for Andras as well. But okay, I'm actually a little bit curious right now. What if I replace Berenice and I put in a Hilda instead? So that now we have triple poison here, right? So how good would this team be with triple poison? I think it's going to be a little bit better because you have debuff extension on Hilda, which is part of the reason why we are probably not able to run super fast, because the poison debuffs just keep on getting removed all the time. So let's just blitz this one time, see how long this takes. 200 turns. Okay, yeah, so it's going to be quite slow as well, but it's not that bad. So I think for the time being, the Intisa comp is probably the most efficient way. I mean, I definitely haven't explored all the other alternatives out there, and I'm pretty sure like in 1 week's time, there will be some players who have like super freaking fast comps that no one has ever thought about. But I hope that this video gave you a little bit of insight as to how you can build your current team, your current Andras team. And yes, it is currently quite pay to win. In fact, me running this entirely pay to win comp is still not able to get 8 memo chip runs, which is so insane, right? So I feel like the design of this Ritual Miracle boss is a little bit broken in that sense, but I hope they would kind of like tweak it along the way and just improve on it as we progress through, like, you know, the next few updates, right? Let me know your thoughts about the Andras boss here. How do you feel about the current Andras boss? Is he a little bit too broken? Is he a little bit too insane? Is he a little bit too restrictive? I think that's the main thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.